Hey, everybody, welcome back in to the Horseshoe Lounge. We are at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint, and it's a fun, casual chat here. As we get rolling through training camp halfway, Bobby Carpenter was on the practice field on Saturday. Jack Sawyer said he should go play some a little bit. He looks so good. That's Justin Zwick.
Did he tell you that, or did I tell you that?
You told me that. I don't think you could. You told me that you could maybe give him, 3 good plays and then have to tap out, get that.
I could give you more than that. The problem is I would not be able to wake up the next day.
You've done that before, haven't you, in the past?
Yeah, it was.
Was it rough the next?
It was 5 years ago. Believe me, the third day I was like.
Oh, you did it multiple days?
They were out
3 straight practices.
Did you?
I
thought
Phoenix,
it was just
I
one.
believe.
No,
This is Berm, by the way.
Hi.
And this is the podcast.
I used to live in Phoenix. Did you know that?
I did. Yeah.
You and Hart were out there, right?
And boring.
Yeah.
Some
Just going after
some
it.
more productive than others, but yeah. I mean, by the third day though, like it was.
Oh, I can imagine.
I think I ate about 6 ibuprofen before practice, and like. But the thing was, I would have thought that was out of the realm of normalcy. But Craig Fada and like those guys were down there, and it looked like when kids open up their Halloween candy, there was just all the little tablet packs all in the linebacker corner. I'm like, do they sweep this every day, or is this just like cumulative build up throughout the week? Like, what is going on?
That's what you have to do to get through training camp. You got to eat that ibuprofen.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I actually have never heard somebody describe it as eating ibuprofen.
When you swallow it without water, you're basically eating it.
People
just
come
come out
down,
and
man,
practice.
whatever it takes.
I've seen guys chew them.
Choke
And when
down.
you're tripling or quadrupling the daily recommended allowance,
Here's
Yeah,
the
we're
thing.
all bigger
Those
than
are
what
made
those
up.
people are, what those numbers are for.
I talked to my neighbor was a pharmacist, so I'd always ask him the questions. Like, they say this is what you should take. This is what they allow me to take in the NFL, which obviously fairly large gap. I go, is that good? He goes, I just wouldn't. He goes, I wouldn't recommend doing that long term. He goes, you're young and you're pretty big, and he's like, try not to drink a lot when you're using NSAIDs. He's like, because it'll wear down your body, your kidneys, your
Did you
liver.
take that advice too?
Well, that's the problem. I go after the game. That's the
Probably-
reason.
After the game, you mix
Sudafed
them
with
together.
where they handle a cat.
Literally drink them with each other.
Right,
Right?
exactly.
But I never tell. I was never into pain stuff, but it was always just anti-inflammatories to pull the swelling out of my knee, my neck, my face, whatever it was.
I think it's safe to remind people that the views expressed by hosts on this show don't necessarily represent that of the FDA or, the medical professional people out there,
Yeah,
right?
for
There's
sure.
people-
Follow the instructions on the bottle.
I mean,
Don't
Jason,
listen
Bob
to
said
us.
it was approved by his neighbor doctor.
His
Listen.
he's
neighbor
a pharmacist. He's a pharmacist.
Listen.
I asked him. I knew he'd have my best interest at heart. We're good friends with his kids. Like, we grew up together. I was like, Tom, hey.
America, listen. Don't listen.
But I was also 250 pounds, and I was 26, 27 years old. Like, as you get older, I try to back that down. I get blood work done like every couple of months.
Carved up.
Well, I just
Carved beef.
I mean, I understand that my liver and kidneys are going to look like a piece of driftwood when I'm 65, 70. I'm an organ donor, but I don't know what I'll have left to give. Maybe some eyeballs.
They're going to be like, no, you keep it.
Thanks, but no thanks.
We
You
don't
guys
need
go
that one.
ahead.
Sew that up and burn them. They'll be good.
We don't need that.
Well, we're off to a great start.
Hey, yeah.
That's how we get into it here on the podcast and the Horseshoe Lounge, breaking it down. It's great to be back at Rooster, especially after a scrimmage that somebody at the table
Jeez.
got to see all of it. It wasn't me or Berm.
Well,
Jay-Z, was it you?
It wasn't Jay-Z. I was out hacking it around the golf course.
It must be nice to just be in the media
Must be nice.
and get to watch the whole scrimmage.
I got over there. That was my third different football practice that I had watched that day.
So you're going to start breaking down like what you actually saw.
I
I
started
hope they don't
Saturday.
run together like this. The
boys are-
8-year-olds into the.
Saturday started 8 o'clock scrimmage starts time, 9:45 arrival. So that meant 6:15 for me to get the kid, my son RJ, up, get him there. Then watched that from 8 to 9. Then went over, coached my other kid from about 9 to probably 10. Then hopped over, shot over to the old shoe, and
Heck of a morning.
yeah. And by noon, I'm like, I've already lived a full day. Like, I'm exhausted. I'm
There were
tired.
no other scrimmages that you could
You had to go
grab?
home and pump a couple Advil in and forget about
well,
it.
walking on that field turf, definitely. But it was encouraging to see because I think, as anyone would say, this Ohio State offense is really good. And watching them in 7-on-7 against our defense, it's almost not even fair. There's no pass rush. You can't touch receivers anymore. And, like, you give them 3.5 seconds to throw. Like, if you can hold our offense,
You might as well be on air.
that's what I'm saying. Like a 70% completion percentage or less, that's a win for the defense.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I'm dead, I say that of how good the receivers are in contested ball situations, how much separation they get, how good CJ's been. There's no offensive. There's no line to throw around. They just, here's a 5-yard
He
drag.
was completing 70% in games last year.
Well,
better than that.
Yeah,
and towards the end of the season.
Oh yeah, but like because there was limited rush and their DBs he was playing weren't very good.
Yeah,
So
7-on-7 is just
it was like 7 on, and so especially when they're playing Utah, that's what it looked like at times.
Yeah.
So to watch the defense, they went live. I think Ryan's important. We got to tackle some. We got to get some live reps and experience there. So they had him do that, and the defensive line looked good. I mean, the linebackers, Steele and Eichenberg. I think people are gonna be very pleasantly surprised with the second level play this year. And then the safety play was really good. And honestly, too, I mean, Ryan talked about this with Wednesday, Thursday, about how nicked up their corners were, so I think
well, that's a real problem.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is, because you've got Cam, who's obviously been battling stuff for his career, and he's older, and they kind of want to make sure he's going to be good. I think Hancock's been battling some stuff. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Am I saying
He's
that
been
correct?
out for
Yes.
a full week. So
And nothing crazy. They said it's not a big deal. It's just,
He looked a lot better Monday morning walking around than he did last week.
Yeah, and so they're coming, those guys are out, and I think Burke was maybe battling something. So then all of a sudden, dude, you're 3 guys down, and it's all right, man, hey, J.K. Johnson, dude, you're the number one.
Let's see what you got
here.
Go.
Cameron Martinez, this is no longer just for drills. You may be out of corner.
And that's the thing. Can he play safety, bulletish, or whatever? But now you might have to go play outside. So they have some good young guys, but I mean, and then the older guys, it's not like they're season-ending injuries, but it's just, okay, it's going to be a couple weeks of rough stuff. But they handled themselves very well because the D-line played really good. They were able to shut down the run. And the safeties did a good job disguising and getting involved. And really, Tanner McAllister played really well too. I mean, it's been pleasant to watch him, in his development here. I mean, he knows the defense, but the leadership he provides, and then just his ability to disguise and move around because he's been in the system for 4 years.
Yeah.
I think it's why it's important that one of the names I keep hearing as sort of a surprise so far fall camp has been Jair Brown at corner.
Yeah, good. He's been good. What number is he?
18.
Yeah. All these guys, number soup out there.
Yeah, so Jair's really had an opportunity to get more reps than maybe he anticipated in the first 10 days. And from what I've heard, that he seems to really be grabbing that. And that's a player that, he comes from Louisiana and then up down at Lakota West where he played his senior year of high school. So, he's got a little bit of – he comes from some good football background, and to just get a chance to get in there. And he's sort of that Damon Arnett unhinged type of corner that you need.
Unhinged.
Yeah, the guy that's going to just get really physical on the field, and I
believe it's called a wild card.
He is not afraid. I'm going to say unhinged. He seems to be the type.
Yeah.
I mentioned it last week. He was at practice on Thursday when we got a chance to watch them. He went after Marvin Harrison and was not afraid, and so you get that sort of attitude out there, and I think it helps when, as I said last week, talking to you and Bill after Snappy Jays. There is an opportunity. Snap judgments, Bob. We're workshopping some names.
Yeah, okay.
People seem to like Snappy Jays.
So, I said it it doesn't.
We thought you'd really like it.
I mean, you seem like a big Snappy Jays guy, but
that might sound like something you order in the champagne room.
But there's nothing.
If you have to ask, you can't afford it.
So, as long as there's no long-term injuries to Cam Brown and Jordan Hancock and Denzel Burke, I don't think this early in camp is a negative to get some of these other guys a lot more reps than they otherwise would.
I was gonna say that as well, but I think in a situation where the defensive staff had been in place for a couple years, it's a little bit better.
Yeah,
but those guys need those reps. I think it is good to let these younger guys get in and run with the ones and see what might happen and get that taste of it, especially in a big scrimmage in the shoe going live. But got to have those guys healthy because there's 2 areas that are thin. That's one of them, and I'm sure we'll talk about the other one.
Well, I mean, it's the 2 areas are always the same. It's offensive line and DBs because you need a lot of guys, and there seem to be positions where people get hurt and things just happen. That's you ask every probably coach in college football in the NFL, high school, what are your 2 thinnest positions? Generally, I'd say about 80%.
In high school, it's different because you only have the offensive linemen that are big enough to play. In college, feel like you can recruit the guys to have it too deep.
It's the hardest position to just bring someone in and let them go.
We moved a D end over to right tackle when we were in school. It's that easy.
Well,
it's that easy.
Everyone should
Daring
do it.
at the start of camp,
and
he started our first game.
Somebody asked me about that the other day. How did this happen for Ohio State that they're sitting there with 6 guys at corner and you're halfway depleted for one scrimmage where the top 3 guys are out? Well, I mean, injuries are going to be part of the game, so you're going to have to deal with that. And B, the transfer portal has changed things.
Right, Ryan Watts and Legend Cavazos.
Legend Cavazos and Ryan Watts
Yeah.
leave after spring. They're, 4 or 5, on the depth chart at corner or second or third at nickel, however that works out. Like, they make a business decision that's, they could have easily been in, they couldn't bank on the fact, at least in their mind, that, hey, someone's going to get hurt and then I'm going to be that next guy in. They wanted to go play somewhere else, or they were offered
the opportunity to go play somewhere else.
Yeah,
an opportunity. They were offered plenty to potentially look at their
Is there any
options
regret
elsewhere.
we didn't go after the kid from LSU? You think?
Elias Ricks.
Yeah.
There's absolutely none.
None?
No.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
I just when you hear people going down, you think, well, we were talking about we didn't really want to bring him in.
It doesn't appear he's in line to start at Bama
He's not.
right now.
Yeah, he's a second-team player at Alabama, and I think the better question would be is if there had been anybody else at corner, should they have pursued that? This guy specifically, they were very comfortable in their decision.
Fair enough.
And I think that's bearing itself out.
But
at
J.K.
Alabama.
Johnson's played pretty well too, and that's
what I was
one of the
gonna say.
silver linings.
Another guy that's a wild card, though.
Yeah, they've got a couple wild cards. I think JT Tuimoloau might be a little bit of a wild card. based on
Okay.
that. So, like,
Okay.
there's a lot.
D-line wild card.
There's some guys getting after it, going back and forth, and it has been exciting and fun to watch. I mean, Josh Proctor, we know is a wild card. That kid from Wisconsin, they buried him out at Lucas Oil. When he hit him, he literally hit him into the ground, and they just
I actually tripped on
Pick some
it when I
dust
was
on it.
walking through at Big Ten Media Days. It's just they didn't even cover it up. He's just,
little headstone in
yeah,
the front.
it's like, whoa, I'm sorry, I thought I tripped on it.
Anybody that remembers watching that, like it's the last play of the game, a meaningless play, and not to Joshua Proctor. I'm going to kill you on the
think
sideline.
Berm and I were at the other end of the field, like walking out as the final play. The gun's going off. We're trying to get in position, to cover it. Maybe it wasn't Berm, but I was like, I peeked down. I'm like, oh my god.
No, I remember
Josh
watching.
just killed somebody.
So the play was happening, right? And Ryan Day was walking onto the field because the game was
the
over.
last play of the game.
And then he's watching on the sideline. And he goes, "Oh!"
I mean, and the worst thing was, Fox goes right off and goes to the post. Like, I want to see. Give me the replay. Show me what happened to that kid.
So they strapped him immediately to the gurney and got him out of
So as someone who got to watch the scrimmage on Saturday, you've talked about a few guys, Tommy Eichenberg, who you've been a big fan of. Someone I talked to
Thomas
at practice,
well. Him and Steele are both doing a really.
someone I talked to at practice on Monday said that Tommy Eichenberg is the best player on the defense. Do you? And I know as a linebacker, you may be a little bit, biased towards linebackers, but would you say that?
It's tough because like defensive line, you don't really get to see like sack. I mean, they pull off, and sometimes you give them credit, sometimes they don't. I would say Tommy has been as impactful as anybody on the defense. Like there's no one you would say is like, this guy's clearly better. There's other guys that have made some plays.
The other name I heard was JT Tuimoloau, who
JT's made plays too. Him and Paris have been mixing it up. It's been fun to watch. Like two old big bulls going at each other, like back and forth, getting after it. I mean, it's been a raucous, competitive environment, which is what you want because last year I think the defense they didn't necessarily have that cachet, and it was just like getting rolled over. Like, no, man, we understand you're a good offense, but don't think you're going to come out here and just big boy us, or we're just going to take a knee and like, this is
we can't win. It's
yeah,
number one offense.
we look like Oklahoma's like we'll go score 50 points and give up 45.
So what's the right amount, guys, for it to spill over in a training camp? Ty Hamilton and Luke Whippler.
Oh, I like Ty. Ty is another guy. He's
when it goes beyond the competitive, just past the whistle a little bit. What's the right amount of fisticuffs, wild card like behavior in a training camp against your teammate?
I mean, the most I ever did was
run over exactly.
I remember
hold the
Fickle.
quarterback back. Don't let him in
remember
there.
Fickle grabbed me. I was just messing around and like hoot and holler or something. You guys, and Fickle grabbed me and looked like he wanted to rip my head off, and I'm like, whoa. I'm just kidding around, man. Like, relax. So,
Hey,
I don't get into it, but the pushing.
Well,
and
Tressel
shoving,
did never
I think-
let you into the scrums.
Well,
What-
yeah,
no,
or he
what-
would have wished I would have been.
What's your guy? What's your guy who is from St. X who
Robbie showing
who
off?
blasted me on the return on the?
Was that Robbie, a young guy?
Oh, it's Robbie on a reverse. I hit him one day in practice.
Robbie Schoenhoff was not your traditional size quarterback.
No, he was
however,
big,
Big kid. Yeah.
His dad played tight end, I think, with my dad.
He ended
maybe.
up playing tight end, I think.
yeah, he
Yeah,
was like a
Delaware.
6'5", 250
But
pound quarterback.
I hit him once in a practice when we weren't supposed to. But I'm like, he's the third dude going in. No, I don't care about this
You're
guy.
allowed.
And then they ran a reverse. And God bless him. He lined me up and knocked me off my feet.
I love it.
And I was going to fight him. I shook his hand and said, nice job. And I had it coming to me.
Okay.
And so you know what? I would say the right amount is an amount that shows your guys have a little bit of stuff to them,
Little.
but it doesn't disrupt practice, and nobody gets hurt. I've watched guys break their hands. You watch guys close fist punching another
helmet,
which is ridiculous. And then also, like, it gets so bad, like, every play you have to stop, and, like, you can't get anything done. If, like, once every other period you see two linemen, like, get into it a little bit, and it's, like, 10 to 15 seconds they pull it apart, and then you run a play, like, okay, that's probably about the right amount at this point in camp when you've been hitting the same dude now for the last 10 days.
But after you have a few of those, coaches are going to say, all right, we're wasting time out here. Cut this out. We're going to just keep playing. We like the fire. I think it gets worse as camp goes on.
It does.
Because you're just every day. I mean, these guys are all hitting each other and, going against each other. So I think,
how hard is it to keep that
week
from getting off the field and, like, going into the locker room or going when you go home? Like,
I mean, if it's going off the field, there's probably something a little more there. I mean, I've watched a lot of fights. Usually you're so tired, but, I mean, the best
Can't
part
even
is,
remember
what are you talking about? If it's going over to the Fawcett Center and someone's waiting for you outside?
Yeah, like guys like waiting.
I had that.
Because usually, I mean, it doesn't get that crazy. I mean, there was times in the NFL where dudes, like, it would kind of spill to the locker room, and then next thing you know, it's in the shower. And I remember looking, like, and one of the dudes,
shower
like,
fights.
That's a snappy jack.
It is. I'm like, and the argument was like, dudes, like, you guys gonna fight naked here in the shower? Like, are we serious? First of all, it's a tile floor; it's really slippery. Second of all, you don't have any clothes on.
Okay,
so what are we doing?
So what's dumber, punching someone with a helmet on or fighting naked in the shower?
I mean, it's about a toss-up. It's even money in Vegas because you may break your hand punching it, but you may.
Yeah. Okay. But
there's things that happen in that shower fight that you could never wash off.
So, okay, we've talked about the defense and the scrimmage. We're still talking about the scrimmage on Saturday.
We?
Do you guys remember?
I've already.
Was there a shower fight in this after the scrimmage?
In the second phase of the show, when I lose complete control, it's going.
So, Robert, tell us about the offense. What did you see?
Kevin Wilson didn't seem thrilled.
Yeah, he was worried should we be? Because he didn't seem thrilled.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the defense had a good day. And that's, Ryan's probably trying to balance. Like, he's an offensive guy, and they're furious. Like, all right, we didn't have a good day, but we're pretty good. We know that. We've got some things to clean up. And I wasn't at practice on Friday, and I'd heard, like, Friday was straight bombs over Baghdad. Like, just deep ball after deep ball. So, like, it's good to have a little snapback and get it. Today was, pretty 50-50 day, but I thought oh goodness, Dallin, the running back, Dallin, he played well, and especially it's tough because our second and third line there's not a lot of depth there.
No.
And so, like, the fall off from, like, the starting defensive line is kind of like this. It's a little more sizable. It's
a little bit more of a cliff.
Yes, for the second and third, but I thought Evan Pryor did really well. He got in space, showed some speed, made some there wasn't a whole lot to get sometimes, but he was getting everything that he could have and probably more. Boy, little Mayan Williams looked good. Like, the running game, I thought it looked all right. I mean, the defense stuffed it a lot of times, but there was holes to be had, and running backs ran tough. I thought your boy Jaden Ballard, I think, has had a really good camp, had a really good scrimmage.
I like to hear it.
I mean, before, he had trouble tracking the ball a little bit. He's fast, and I don't know how great his hands were, but his routes have been crisp. He's been catching contested balls. He's tracking stuff down the field. I thought he looked good, and really, I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised with Cade Stover this year. I think everybody looks like, all right, how can we get Royer involved? How can we get G. Scott involved? Those guys are good. They can do some really good stuff. But Cade Stover runs better routes and has better hands than people think. And
he's not just a farm boy who loves to hit people.
He talked about that. He talked about that on Monday morning. He talked about that on Monday morning, how this summer he spent 3 nights a week working on his routes with Keenan Bailey after workouts, after school, after whatever. And he really said, like, he feels like a wide receiver playing tight end at times, and
nice.
that was not on the that was just us talking. Obviously, he's a little
just us girls, just us girls.
Well,
it's a touch hyperbolic at that point, but like that this is a kid who's 6'5", almost 260 pounds, and he really looks like a tight end now, and he still has that linebacker mentality, and I think it's just a great combination. I think it's going to make the entire offense way better. And especially the tight end room way better, because it's not going to be easy for those guys to pass him up. And between Cade Stover and Mitch Rossi, I think Joe Royer's in a position right now all of a sudden where it was sort of I believed that he was going to step in and be the guy at tight end, and I think he's going to have to earn that. I think he had some medical stuff coming into camp, and that kind of held him back a little. But Royer, I think, will be fine. But Mitch, the one thing that it gives them is Mitch Rossi and Cade Stover, like, they can get under center and get in like a traditional formation, which
now, I mean, that's a novelty to be able to have those positions where you can line up and pound the football on someone, because it's something else now that teams have to prepare for. You know, a lot of teams like Iowa, Wisconsin, even Michigan to a certain extent, if you're running the football and you're going to run traditional offense, that's what you do. You don't have the ability to go 4 wide, 3 wide, and like press somebody and do that and do it in a really effective way. But then all of a sudden, you come in after picking up 25 yards, you cross the 50, 45-yard line, like, hey, you bring these guys in, like, oh gosh, like, and you're like trying to scramble to get personnel to match those guys on the field, and both of them can catch the ball, they can do some stuff out of the backfield, and you're seeing just a whole different type of offense at that point.
Yeah. We've seen Ryan likes to use that.
Yeah.
You know, the 2 tight end set and kind of mix things up, keep that defense on their toes.
Snapping it under center.
Yeah, I mean, geez.
How crazy is that?
That's big. I hope they practice that every morning.
Take a look at these, Bob. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good.
We need to talk about
we're
gonna head into a break.
They're so good.
Cheesy.
The cheesy bacon fries for Appetizer Tuesday.
What does that mean?
It means at Appetizer Tuesday at Roosters, every Tuesday, there will be a featured appetizer. There'll be only $2. So as you can see, with a variety of options out here, that is cheesy bacon fries. Tuesday.
This is called quality control. We tested out the day before to make sure it's ready for Appetizer.
Make sure it's ready for everybody that comes in on Tuesdays. And
it is. They are
typically is.
They are ready to go.
It's the spot.
You can get that tomorrow
$2
at all of your nearby Roosters locations. This one is on Olentangy River. It's called the Horseshoe Lounge. We're hanging out, talking about the Buckeyes. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back into Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint, a fun, casual chat. Bringing it on. I'm trying to regroup after it got a little out of control in the first segment.
Sure.
But that's part of it.
You haven't seen nothing yet.
All right, let's do it. Let's
talk
get weird.
Let's talk football.
How do players handle the ballot voting for captains?
It's a great question. I mean, I can only speak to myself, maybe, of how I did it, and everybody's different. Some places it's like, hey, right? I mean, Tress used to always slant it to get the people that he wanted. Like,
well, they let you write
So
something
he's
down, but they
campaigning?
don't actually tell you.
Or does he just present the actual candidates?
They don't count the votes in front of you. They give it to who they wanted to give it to back then.
no writing. Well, like,
they made you feel like you could have a voice.
Justin, I feel like there's some bitterness
Oh,
inside
no,
of
I
you.
was never going to be a cat. I don't care about
they
that.
well, like,
It wasn't like something I was
like,
striving for. It
our
was just
ju-
the way it went.
our third year, you know, Mike Nugent's the senior, and I love Nuge, and I don't mind having a special teams guy as captain. I think Nuge
was awesome.
Did a great job at it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the year before was like write down 2 offensive or 2 defensive, or maybe write down the 3 best players, the 3 players you like, and then for that year it was write down 1 offensive player, 1 defensive player, 1 special teams player.
Yeah, and that's what it
like,
is.
I looked up, I looked over at Nuge, I'm like, I mean, you can just walk up there right now. I mean,
just kind of putting your thumb on the scale.
who are we picking? Cal Toronto?
Yeah.
I mean, there was no one else. He was the first, second, and last choice for everybody. There was no one else.
Yeah.
So it's always different. I don't know if they're like, hey, write down. They may have. You could write up to 5. You don't even have to write that many. The people that you think reflect what you have as captain. I think what's interesting this year, when we talk about the captains, you have the 2 guys that run the huddles, CJ and Tommy. And so I think that's a lot of times natural, especially if you have guys who have started for multiple years, the guys that, you know, middle linebacker, the signal caller on defense, signal caller on offense. And CJ's one of your best players, maybe the best, whatever. You know, Cameron Babb was a captain last year, and so but you got to think Zach Harrison was a captain last year. Who else was a captain? Taraja Mitchell. That didn't get it. But you have Cam Babb, Cade Stover,
Tyler Friday, and Cam Babb, Cade Stover, Tyler Friday. Who's the 6th? Court Williams.
Court Williams. So you have guys all over positions. You got a DB, D end, you know, tight end, and then a receiver. The receiving room that's really deep too, by the way. Then Jackson Smith and I mean, a lot of people just think, hey, the best players always get it.
Yeah.
But if you look at all 4 of those guys, all of them have kind of either dealt with injuries or position changes, like have had to sacrifice and do a lot of things outside of them just showing up and playing football. Cade's bounced around, done anything people asked. You know, Court's always at the facility. You know, he obviously had injuries early in his career. Cam, his medical folder is like an entire.
Tyler's the same way. Tyler's missed the last 2 years.
Tore his ACL, you know, and like, so all of those guys, and I think that's really reflective of a team when you say, like, the guys we respect the most are not necessarily
the best players.
The
on
best
Saturdays.
players. Not that it's bad, like Jackson Smith and Jake Bear or something like that, but it's the dudes who have grinded and been through it, who that's who we want our team to be represented and reflected by. And I think that speaks a lot of kind of what this team looks for. Because I saw that, I'm like, man, like Zach Harrison was a guy last year, and he's not now. It's Tyler Friday instead. And that doesn't mean that Zach Harrison isn't a good leader. But I think people have looked at this like these dudes have been through a ton. This program means a whole heck of a lot to them. And those are the guys who we want to follow.
Well, another captain, another former Ohio State captain asked me about this. He said, you think you guys should – I want to hear some thoughts on it. Some of these guys that are captains haven't been on the field a lot and may not be on the field a lot for Ohio State. We don't know exactly what Court Williams' role is going to be. Cameron Babb, the health concerns, he hasn't proven it day in and day out, actually in a Saturday in the Horseshoe. It's like so this person said, I'm a little bit
Kate Stover's
curious.
Never really been a starter.
Yeah, I'm curious about this group just because other than CJ, have they really gone out there and done it at the high level? Because he said, you don't want to be hearing your captains from the sideline. You want them to be on the field. And it was an interesting perspective because I thought that it was significant, as you did, with we know what those guys have been through, the adversity, the work ethic, and that CJ and Tommy Eichenberg, that they're going to lead both of those units. But when you looked at the rest of that group, thought, well, I think I can understand why somebody asks that question about it.
I think that's real.
Yeah. I don't think a captain should be someone who just goes out and scores touchdowns.
Right.
And then also, they're not staying afterwards or they're not showing that they're putting in the work. Now, granted, at Ohio State, I don't think we have a lot of those guys that don't put in the extra work or don't worry about it. But I think the captain is just somebody that the team knows. Like, you're getting the team huddle, Cameron Babb might be the guy who is talking to you that day. Mm-hmm. Our sophomore year, that's kind of off-season workouts. We lost 14 dudes to the draft the year before.
Yeah.
So it's like who's gonna be the guy? And Nuge kind of did that a little bit, and Troy and I as quarterbacks, as we knew we were going to be playing that year, kind of tried to do that a little bit. But the team knows. I mean, those guys have all been through a lot. That is what it is. But they are good teammates, and they're going to make sure their guys are ready to rock if they're on the field or if they're not on the field. And that's what the coaches know. Like, no matter what happens, these guys, we can trust them to guide this team and help this team from the sideline or on the field. We know their character. We know what they've been through. We know they're grinders. And we want our team to kind of follow along with them and their personalities. And I don't think you have to be an all-star on a Saturday to be a captain.
And, with that, because I'd always reference that year, 2004, because we were really thin as seniors. And a lot of the guys that were playing were not. And so when you have guys who are trying to lead because they're simply senior, not that you shouldn't, but they've never put the work in. They've never done. That's why they got passed up.
Right.
A lot of times. Because there were guys that were talented who should have played more who didn't. And so, those are the dudes you want to listen to. Because you're a senior now and this is what it means a lot to you. It meant a lot to the guys last year who were seniors and you weren't spilling it for them and doing everything. And I would almost argue that to listen to somebody who doesn't play, that they voted. It's not like the coaches selected them.
Sure.
So, to have somebody who may not necessarily be on the field that you respect enough, who may have to pull people into when you come off and this is what we need to do. Let's go and do it. And they're not going to be like, well, you're not playing. No, we selected you knowing it's not like they were fooled by these guys are all going to be our stars. They know what they've all been through and they know that, hey, they did everything that they could do while they still weren't out there. They were still heavily invested. And those are the people that you ultimately want to follow. That to me, all those, because Cameron Babb, part of it, all those receivers, I guarantee you voted for him. They could have very easily voted for JSN or someone else, and they chose to vote for a guy who, let's face him, he's one bad move away from being out for the season again. But that's the guy that they still want to listen to on Saturdays and still want to see out there and still want to have him be around to give them the tough truths that you need that a captain has to do.
I think they're choosing the guys that inspire them the other 6 days of the week.
Yeah.
And, you can be a
Easy
captain.
to get up on Saturdays,
it's easy
right?
to be the guy on Saturday. To be the guy every other day of the week when you've had problem after problem in your career and things that have gone wrong, almost to a laughable degree. If it wasn't sad, you'd look at some of this stuff and go, oh my gosh, again? How is that possible? How's this guy still getting up and going at it? And
how's the Coyote not caught the roadrunner yet?
Exactly. How many times can he fall off a cliff and get back up and keep going?
That's crazy.
But when you see guys like Cam Babb and Kate Stover and Tyler Friday, and you know exactly what they've had to deal with in these last 3 years, I think that's much more inspirational than just who scores touchdowns on Saturday or who is going to be a first-round pick next year.
Popular name.
These guys are I think that's kind of the word I'm looking at. These guys inspire their teammates every single day. And I swear, in the 11 years now I've covered Ohio State, every game day for the last 11 years, I've never heard people talk about teammates the way that people talk about Cam Babb. It's unbelievable the things that people say about him. And then listening to the tight ends today talk about Cade Stover, it was that same sort of thing where you're like, wow, these guys really, really buy into what that person is, and not necessarily what that player is, but like they're seeing a different side. And I think you're right, though. This last year's team, it was all about how tough they weren't.
Yeah.
And I think that it was intentional that this year the focus has been who are the tough guys on this team, who is going to fight through the worst parts of this. And a lot of the guys, last year's leaders, were not proving themselves that they were willing to fight when things got tough.
Well, and that's really been, I think, an interesting part about this entire offseason for Ohio State and Mickey Marotti and what Ryan Day were trying to accomplish. This was really the third time that they voted. It wasn't the same as like get to training camp and you have a week till kickoff, like pick 3 names. Like they spent the whole offseason, all right, here's going to be the workout groups. You're going to put them together. They're not going to be just by units. They're going to scramble up the team, offense, defense, going to vote on whatever it was, 12 or 16 unit leaders. And then they did that for a few months and they evaluated that and they did it again. Who did great in that role, who didn't emerge as a leader. You take some guys out, some guys stayed, some new ones emerged. And that's the third time that these guys have gone through that process to say, who are the ones that they trust, who are the ones that set the tempo, the urgency, as Berm says, that inspires them. Like this group of 6 didn't emerge as a fluke, like because they had a good week. Like to be in the third vote at this point when you cut it down, like it had to be pretty significant over the course of the offseason.
Well, I think a lot of that, it's not even in training camp. Like, how can you follow somebody that's not on the field? Those are the guys that you're working out within those groups and the dudes that show up every day willing to grind. And when you see a dude like Cade Stover who's come in and playing linebacker and then played tight end and then they moved him back to linebacker and tried defensive, Jack, the defensive end type deal this summer, like moved over like, okay, well, I'm going to play tight end. This is what I'm going to do. The team needs me to be
1,000% in everything he does.
And now I'm going to work for hours a day out there. Like, that's not lost on those guys when everybody else is showering up. Like, this dude's going to learn a new position because he could be selfish and be like, no, dude, I'm a linebacker. That's what I'm going to play. Yeah. And stay there and probably not play as much, and complain and be disgruntled about this and that.
Or say, screw this, I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah, or I'm leaving. But, hey, I'm from here. This is what I want to do. They need me to do this. There's a role for me to be had. I'm going to be the very best damn player I can be in this role and everybody sees that. Yeah. It's blatantly obvious when you have those things happen. And that's what really, I think, the toughness element, their leaders are all tough. So if you want a tough team, like you elect tough people, they're going to play through some mild injuries. They're going to be out there and practice every day. Like, they're not going to sit there, I got a little tight hammy, or I don't
want to sit out this week.
I don't
camp.
feel good.
Tough.
Yeah, like Cade Stover ain't sitting out anything. Yeah. Tommy Eichenberg's not sitting out anything.
He told a story on Monday, and it was just so perfectly encapsulated what Cade Stover is to me. Is like, and I've known him for a while, so I feel like I have a pretty good sense of Cade, and I never heard him say it this way today.
So if you were to play after this, I want you to ask who your current.
We can't play
crush?
That game. We can't play that game.
So team crush?
If he's playing in a 4, he's playing golf and he gets his 3-part.
So
I like this.
So someone asked Cade today. Someone asked
Cade and who else?
Someone asked Cade today. They said, "Why do you do this? Why do you have this approach, this mentality?" And he said, "Cows don't take a day off." He said, on Christmas, cows got to eat. On Thanksgiving, cows got to eat. On my birthday, cows got to eat. I can't take it. They don't take a day off, so why should I? And I just thought it was such a interesting perspective from a kid that is now a year away probably from having a shot to play in the NFL, where a year ago he had no idea what he was doing with the Ohio State football team. If he has a good year, if he looks like he's developed and at that size and with his athleticism, he said he ran a 4.58 the other day. Like he's got some juice to him.
Got some upside.
I just think it's an interesting.
Cows don't take a day off.
They don't. That's the farm.
Don't change the way mustard tastes.
That's the farm, man. That's real.
It's life on the farm.
I just think it's interesting, man. Like that mentality is not common anymore, and so I think when you see a group of players on your team that all have it, and everyone else recognizes it, and you can either be like that or be left behind, and I think it's great that Ohio State has said these are the leaders. Follow them or get out of here.
Well, I think it's great that they kind of narrowed it down, like you were talking about, having this set number of guys in winter workouts and then kind of just going down the list. We didn't have anything like that.
And also it's easy. It's Cam, and Cade.
Well,
Very easy.
oh, that's the 3.
Yeah.
I didn't even get a
So
chance.
Cam Babb.
Cam Babb. I was
Okay.
I wanted to
Cam
make
with
my
a
bet.
K, Cam with a C, and Cade.
I mean, I could probably convince him to
I was gonna win that bet for sure.
I could probably be convinced to just go Cam. To be honest.
Well, he's playing with me.
So Cam Brown's with you.
Brown is in.
Well, then,
strike
yeah.
force,
Well, I mean,
you can't play with.
If I could take K just for the long drive portion, I think we're good.
She's trying.
You think he hits the ball far?
I'd imagine.
Well, the tight ends did go out this summer to play some golf, and I don't remember he had a baseball grip.
Did he?
He had the baseball grip.
That's
on,
good.
So.
a little separation.
Yeah, a little separate, like a hockey
wasn't him.
stick almost.
Mitch Rossi actually this morning asked if he could play with me this summer or next summer. He's done with camp, so he's trying to get in the force.
Okay.
Not sure. He's
Central Ohio 2-man
It
scramble.
would be an interesting squad with Josh Proctor, Cameron Brown, and Mitch Rossi. I'm not sure we're going to work on that one. I mean,
that's good.
That would be tough to crack into there, but we'll see. I mean,
I think we've officially jumped the shark here.
There's a lot of good stuff right there. That's the stuff that
Who you
people
want to go?
Who are
play?
your
Who you want
guys?
to go spend 4 hours with a day? I mean,
Who are your guys? You know this team very well. Who are the 3 guys that you would say I want to go ride on a golf cart and swing the club with?
I like
some
Cam
fellas?
a lot. I like, first of all, Cam Brown, Cam Babb, both great guys. Cam Martinez, also a great dude. I mean, the Cam crew.
I would bet Cam Martinez is the best golfer.
this
of
is
that
the
group.
best triumvirate of Camerons that any program has ever seen.
One of them
gotta
has
be.
a K. One of them has a K. So I mean, it's
Just
covering a lot of
throw
ground.
you off a little.
I'd have to feel like I'd have to give Tommy a couple drinks to loosen him up. I know he's been more vocal on the field, and someone's like, they were critical
Not off
of me.
the field. Jesus.
He doesn't talk.
He's been less vocal off
He
field.
is a mute. And I'm like, him and Steele, like, they don't talk. And then Jim Knowles has been very complimentary. He's like, Tommy's been a great leader. And I go, he has. He's done a good job getting guys lined up. He's been talking. I go, but I'm used. The guy that I played with, Captain Meatball, was just yelling randomness in the air and, like, making every
but you
call.
had AJ who was kind of quiet,
And
too,
AJ was
right?
quiet, but, like, Schlegel tried to make every call for every position.
What are you talking
before-
about?
Exactly.
We've never seen Schlegel pull something like that.
Exactly. So I go, that's what I'm used to. And so I love Tom. I like Steele a lot too because he's a unique dude. Gosh, this is really Cade's a great dude. Who else? I mean,
But I want to win, so I already know that Cade can't swing it.
yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
are we trying to win?
Wow.
Like,
You'd have a good time.
I'm
Can
sure
you
I have a
hold
good
on?
time.
Can you just pause? Look in
Drink
the
some cold
camera.
ones, maybe.
Look in the camera and say, "Cade Stover, you can't golf." Can you just?
I like Court a lot too. Court's my dude.
Cade, you
Court
can
and,
play with Berm, okay?
So let me. But here's
Court and Cody. I helped bring.
here's
in.
the thing.
They're my
If you
guys.
had Court and Tommy in the same, like you would have to do all the talking. So
heavy lifting, just carrying the conversation.
that's a lot of talking for yourself.
The quarterback.
And you don't even like to talk.
The quarterback's trying to
Bring
get into
Tim
golf.
Hall
So
with me.
I would just take the quarterback room.
Yeah,
just take my guys.
I think CJ would be number 4 right now.
The quarterback room, I bet you can golf. I bet you Kyle McCord and Devin Brown can golf. I'm not sure if CJ can.
He's
But-
trying to get into. He told me.
He's
So
good.
He's getting into it.
And he'll be fine once he learns.
my brand is strong. They know what I do, so they want to come play some golf.
wanna
That's
go
good.
play some-
And they want to come hang out at Roosters because they know
Mm,
that on Tuesdays they can get cheesy bacon fries
for $2.
for $2,
Wow.
and that we're going to hang out here in the Horseshoe Lounge every Monday.
There's a lot of snappy J's going on over here.
So snappy.
It's great to be back. That's Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Berm. I'm Austin Ward. Nicole Cox, I promise. She's very sorry she couldn't be here this week. She's going to be back.
She's so
Getting back
busy.
into the flow. She's very busy. Season opener is coming. She'll be ready. We're halfway through August. We'll be right back here next Monday for another Horseshoe Lounge show, which is brought to you by Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. We'll see you then.